The concept of introduction to biblical predictions and global politics revolves around the exploration of how ancient religious texts, particularly the Bible, intersect with modern geopolitical climates. Biblical predictions or prophecies are passages within the Bible that are believed by some to foretell future events. These predictions are of interest not only to theologians, but also to political analysts and historians who seek to understand their impact on global politics. The significance of examining these predictions in relation to global politics is rooted in the influence that religious beliefs have on the actions of individuals and nations. For millions of people worldwide, the Bible is not merely a religious text but a lens through which they view world events. This perspective can significantly influence the political climate, shaping policies and international relations, particularly in regions where biblical teachings hold substantial sway. One pertinent example is the political support for the State of Israel. Many evangelical Christians in the United States believe in biblical prophecies regarding the land of Israel and see its modern political state as a fulfillment of those prophecies. This belief influences American foreign policy, contributing to sustained support for Israel. Another example can be found in the interpretation of apocalyptic predictions. Some political leaders and groups may use these to justify various policy decisions, framing them as aligning with prophetic timelines. This can be seen in certain Middle Eastern countries where rulers invoke religious prophecy to justify political agendas and military actions. Support for the idea that biblical predictions influence global politics comes from both religious groups and some political scholars who argue that understanding these prophecies is crucial for comprehending the motivations behind certain geopolitical moves. However, there are challenges and controversies surrounding this concept. Skeptics argue that these interpretations can lead to dangerous policy decisions that prioritize religious ideology over practical, evidence-based strategies. There are also debates over the accuracy and relevance of ancient prophecies to contemporary events, with critics suggesting that these texts are too ambiguous or metaphorical to justify their use in policymaking. This point is deeply interconnected with other aspects of the main topic by highlighting the influence of religion on political decisions and international relations. Understanding this intersection offers insight into the complex dynamics of global politics, where history, ideology, and belief systems converge to shape the modern world. The historical context of prophecies in the Bible refers to the examination and interpretation of biblical predictions within their original historical and cultural settings. This involves understanding the socio-political landscapes during the time these prophecies were written, alongside the intended audience and purpose behind them. The significance of this exploration lies in its ability to provide a nuanced understanding of biblical texts, which can illuminate their influence on contemporary global politics. By examining the root context, we can better discern whether these ancient predictions were intended as divine revelations, reflections on ongoing events, or as metaphorical messages pertinent to their own time. One notable example is the Book of Daniel, which contains visions that many scholars argue reflect events in the Hellenistic era, including the rise and fall of empires. Interpreted historically, these prophecies can be seen as a response to the socio-political turmoil of the Jewish people under foreign rule, thus symbolizing hope and resilience. Another example is the Book of Revelation, which is often viewed as cryptic warnings about the Roman Empire's decline. Understanding this context reveals its broader symbolism and impact on Christian thought, with implications for political ideologies that have surfaced throughout history. Proponents of this historical approach argue that considering the socio-cultural context enriches our comprehension of biblical prophecies, enabling them to be seen as living documents that speak to different eras. This perspective is essential for those navigating the complex relationship between religion and state, particularly in societies where biblical interpretations influence political decisions. However, there are challenges and controversies associated with this approach. Some religious conservatives maintain that biblical prophecies are timeless divine truths, applicable literally across ages, and resist purely historical interpretations. This tension often incites debates about the role of religion in shaping political ideologies and policies today. The historical context of biblical prophecies connects directly to global politics by shaping religious perspectives that influence political actions. When predictions are interpreted as endorsing certain political ideologies or foretelling modern events, they can significantly affect international relations and policymaking. Understanding the historical roots of these prophecies can thus offer a more balanced perspective, encouraging dialogue between secular and religious viewpoints. This awareness fosters a deeper appreciation of how ancient texts continue to impact contemporary global dynamics, ultimately guiding how religious beliefs may be integrated into modern governance and diplomatic strategies. The interpretation of biblical predictions in modern times involves examining ancient texts, primarily the Bible, to discern their relevance and significance in today's geopolitical landscape. This concept is rooted in the idea that biblical prophecies, written centuries ago, can offer insights or forecasts about current or future events. Scholars and believers often turn to these predictions to seek guidance or to find patterns that resonate with today's world. This point is significant in the broader discussion of the truth behind biblical predictions in global politics, as it bridges the ancient with the contemporary, suggesting that historical religious texts can hold clues to understanding modern challenges and dynamics. By interpreting these predictions, individuals aim to gain perspective on current political events, potentially forecasting outcomes based on biblical narratives. One real-world application of this concept is the interpretation of the Book of Revelation in the context of the Middle East conflict. Some interpreters see connections between the prophetic battles described in Revelation and ongoing conflicts, suggesting that these events are a precursor to a larger divine plan. Another example is the analysis of the biblical prophecy of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which some link to current global crises such as pandemics, economic collapse, and warfare, proposing that these events fulfill ancient predictions. Supporters of this idea argue that biblical prophecies offer a timeless framework for understanding human behavior and divine intervention in worldly affairs. They claim that recognizing these patterns allows for deeper insights into the inevitable cycles of conflict and resolution that shape human history. However, the interpretation of such predictions is fraught with challenges and controversies. Critics argue that the subjective nature of interpreting ancient texts can lead to biased conclusions, often reflecting more about the interpreter's beliefs than about any objective truth. Additionally, there is skepticism regarding the applicability of ancient prophecies in a rapidly changing modern geopolitical landscape. This point connects to the broader theme by influencing how individuals and groups perceive and interact with global politics. Those who believe in the relevance of biblical predictions may advocate for certain political stances or policies, believing they align with a divine plan. Conversely, dismissing these interpretations can lead to alternative viewpoints that emphasize human agency and contemporary analysis over ancient texts. Understanding these varied perspectives sheds light on the complex interplay between faith, history, and global politics. The influence of biblical prophecies on political thought is a fascinating and complex subject that examines how interpretations of ancient religious texts have shaped and continue to impact modern political ideologies and decisions. Biblical prophecies, often seen as divinely inspired predictions found in scriptures such as the Book of Revelation and the prophecies of Daniel, have historically been scrutinized for their potential insights into the future. Politicians and political thinkers sometimes interpret these prophecies as blueprints or warnings, which can guide their strategies or justify their actions on the global stage. The significance of this point lies in its ability to bridge ancient religious beliefs with contemporary political agendas. When political leaders or movements invoke biblical prophecies, they often do so to align their actions with a perceived higher purpose or destiny, thus legitimizing their decisions in the eyes of supporters who share similar beliefs. This can be particularly potent in regions or among groups where religion plays a central role in societal values. One notable example is the influence of biblical prophecy in the formation of the modern state of Israel. Many Christian Zionists support the state of Israel based on their interpretation of biblical prophecies, foreseeing the return of Jews to their ancestral homeland as a precursor to the second coming of Christ. Similarly, during the Cold War, some U.S. politicians and political commentators interpreted the conflict with the Soviet Union in apocalyptic terms, framing it as a battle between good and evil foretold in Scripture. Opinions supporting this idea often argue that biblical prophecies provide moral clarity and inspiration, offering a framework for understanding global events within a grand cosmic narrative. However, this perspective is not without controversy. Critics argue that interpreting political events through a biblical lens can lead to dogmatism or deterministic thinking, potentially oversimplifying complex issues and fostering conflict rather than resolution. Moreover, alternative viewpoints challenge the literal interpretation of biblical prophecies, suggesting that such texts should be understood in their historical and cultural context, rather than as direct predictions of contemporary events. This brings about a broader debate on the role of religion in politics and whether spiritual beliefs should influence policymaking. In connecting to the larger topic of truth behind biblical predictions in global politics, this point illustrates the enduring power and influence of religious narratives in shaping political landscapes. It also underscores the ongoing tension between faith-based perspectives and secular interpretations in understanding and responding to global political challenges.